High five, right here, O-line, O-line. Right here, right here. Ready, set, hut, hut. Use your hands, Jamal. Hands. Hey, you gotta take it again. Jamal, you gotta use your hands right here, O-line. O-line, right here.
Backside. The quarterback gives it away almost immediately. What he does is he takes the ball and he runs back. I mean, he just keeps on running just like this.
I'm a teacher whether I'm in the classroom or on the field. I'm a teacher. The subject I'm teaching always is the game of life. Yes, sir! That's what I'm talking about in here!
During football season, my grades do improve, but it's like after football season, sometimes they might tend to drop a little bit.
Jamal, let's get a pass rush! Be smart, Jason!
It's difficult to be committed to a football program and slack at school at the same time. That's almost impossible.
I was in 9th grade, I played football, I didn't do my homework. I just thought about football, that's all I thought about. In my past 2 years, I wasn't eligible. I joked around a little bit. But last year I got it together because I knew I wanted to play football, so I got it together, and now I'm just doing all my work.
Sometimes academics don't motivate kids. Maybe football does. Maybe basketball does. Maybe the band does. And if those other activities can help teach that young man or young woman discipline, focus, consistency, then that will carry over into the academic realm.
If we learn discipline at practice, on the field, learning to do something when the coach tells you to, it carries over in the real world, in the classroom, on the job.
It's something that the kids don't buy into right away, but when they become committed and dedicated and focused, and that really takes hold for a kid, then it does positively affect all other aspects of his life.
This team, no matter how much talent we did have or how much potential we have, it wouldn't be anything if we didn't have the coaches we have now to push us to do what we can do.
Abs, you're doing 30. Everything else is 8. My alarm clock goes off at somewhere around 5:15 in the morning, and I'm here at school usually by 7:15. We usually leave here by about 8:30 in the evening, which puts me home sometime around 8 or 9 o'clock, at home. That's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night the JV game, so you can add about 2 hours to that schedule. And Friday's really busy because of the varsity game, and you add about 4 or 5 hours to that schedule because we don't get off the field till 10 o'clock, and we start breaking down that night's film at 11:30, and we're usually here till about 2:30 Friday night. Saturday morning I get up at 7, and I trade film with the opposing coach, and we're here at 8 o'clock. The players come in at 9 till about noon, and then we go home. So Saturday's a pretty light day, and then Sunday is a pretty heavy day for us because we come in at 9 a.m. and we work until the job's done, and sometimes that's 3, sometimes it's 5, sometimes it might be 1 o'clock. So it's a lot, but again, there's a passion involved in that, and a lot of that has to do with the academic side of things too. There's a lot of inventory that goes on, that you have to count every pad and every buckle and everything else and make sure that everything is accounted for. The budget process begins, and you got to make decisions on what you need to order and what you don't need to order, and believe it or not, that's pretty time consuming.
It's all on Coach Burton. He's got us with the right attitude, the right mindset, and he's the main reason that we believe in us.
We got these guys on the ropes. They're tired. They're standing like this, right? Get up there and make your call. Let's hit them in the mouth. Hit them in the mouth. Okay? So we asked the kids to believe, and they did. And so what that was a confirmation that what we asked them to do, they do.
And before the game, Coach said, all through the game, believe, believe, believe. Something bad's gonna happen, something we don't like is gonna happen. But just stay focused and believe.
And it was also a confirmation for them because we told them, if you believe this will happen, and if you do everything that we tell you to do because you believe what we tell you, it will happen. And they needed an example. They needed something for us to say, see, I told you so. And everything that we told them about that game came true, everything. We told them that we were going to be able to run the football on them, and we did. We told them that we would have an edge in special teams. We did. We told them we were in better shape than they were and that they would cramp up. They did. So on the sideline that night, every time anything at all that we told them would happen, happened. We just kept turning around and telling them, see, we told you so. Keep believing. Believe, believe, believe. William, I'm proud of you. I thought you'd be the last guy up here.
All right, thank you. All right, cool.
Victor. Jeez, flip. Watch them all right here. Ain't bad. You can be a little bit flatter.
That's where the blow is at.
Nolan blew his ass up, didn't he?
Yeah, that's good.
We want to pass.
Yes, sir.
Look at me and enthused about the block, too.
Yes, sir.
Pop that guard like that, look at him.
Hey, that's a great job by Jordan.
Ain't bad.
Tomorrow.
All right, we'll have a good practice. See you guys.
Later.
Good night.
Yeah, like
Calling this part of your foot?
Average 15 or more yards per week. So our offensive player of the game, anybody know who it is? Now we got to get better at staying in our zones, okay? Staying in our zones. When the scramble happens like this, we're leaving our zones too much. Come on, let's go. You should be rotated already. Let's go. Aaron, what are you doing? Come on, push yourself. Get over that big box. See, there's two different zones. You can tell by the tailback steps if it's an inside zone or an outside zone.
Look that back, run that back again, you're going to see him outflanked.
3rd and 9.
Way wasn't working. We say believe. It's a state of mind. It's an attitude. It's a work ethic. I won't. No one will outwork me. No one will want this more than I want this.
Coach Anderson, our JV coach, really said it best because he said that
it's really beyond football. It's about long-term goals and short-term goals. They think going 10-0 is a short-term goal. We're trying to teach them that it's a long-term goal. It's 12 months. There is no off-season.
those games are won and lost well before September, October, November. And so therefore we need to change the thought process to understand that it's a long-term goal. And that's why we came up with that slogan, there is no off-season. And we give that t-shirt out to kids who excel in the weight room and do things right academically. We give them that because they understand it's a 12-month commitment.
When we came out there, we had to get in the process of believing we can do this and believing we can do that.
And a lot of it is just once they've got a taste of the winning, a taste of the success, a taste of you put this in, what you put in is what you get out. And I think we're going to have a turnaround.
Well, I respect the fact that he came into the program. We weren't that good, and he turned the program all the way around. And he's just a good man.
Come on, fellas, did turn it in? Be honest, fellas.
How many of you had homework today and did not turn it in?
Don't lie.
Big letter. 1, 2, 3, 4. Who else? 5. For me, this whole deal about football is not just about the pigskin and fourth down. It's not what it's about. It's about your math tests and it's about your English homework. And I don't think that there's probably a program in the country that can say that every homework assignment from every kid has been turned in and every one of those kids never missed practice, was never late for practice. Every one of those kids didn't do something that takes away from perfection.
It's been a progress. We weren't the team we were 3 years ago. We've been building it up, and now we're here, and we're going to keep on going.
And ultimately, our goal around here is perfection. Is it attainable? No. But I'd rather shoot for the stars and come up a little short than set my expectations and my goals low and meet them easily.
That is exactly why it's a 70 to 80 hour job. A 70 to 80 hour a week job, period. A kid is not going to believe if you're putting in 40 hours a week and you're going home. A kid is not going to believe if you're not putting in the extra hours.
And Coach Burton, he put in the most work. I mean, it's just, he wants to win so bad along with the other coaches.
Kid is not going to believe if they're not seeing extraordinary work ethic out of you.
Well, it showed me that all the hard work I put in since my freshman year is paid off to help this team get better over the past 4 years I've been here.
And the kids, they look to us for leadership. And if we tell them that there's no off season and you need to be here, and then I'm not here, or Coach Anderson is not here, then you can tell them all you want. But they're never going to believe that.
So we can walk around the hallways, with our head high, little chip on our shoulder.
Across here and stack their backs. Now if they stack, they gotta leave this back right here because they usually play in cover 3. My job, my specific job, sit over there and call play. It's an unbelievable amount of confidence that you have when you do that. Call, we want you to run a hit. If they're playing press and we got a short ball call, we want you to run fade. All right?
Coach still hard on us.
He just brings really high intensity. He has us out there practicing very, very hard in practice, and we're just very intense. And that's what Coach Burton brings to us.
Good, Van. Van, bring your hands in just a little bit more. They're a little wide, okay? Next time you through. All right?
When the coaches yell, it says that they care and they believe in me. If they didn't yell, that means they just don't care about me. They don't care what I do.
Come on, Lou, fight! Come on, Lou!
That's done, then you can't go. You've got to stay there because now we got a C-gap player and a B-gap player, okay?
X, Z, B, H, tight end.
Well, coach will get on you, and first thing coach will ask if who been doing their homework or who not, and you got to be a man to step up and say if you have or if you have not, and if you haven't, then it becomes a we issue, and then the whole team does something because you decide to slack off.
My name is Noah Bertet. I cost my team 5 up there.
Your knees up, get them up.
You got to catch certain people. Sometimes they start to slip back into the old ways, and you got to catch them, and you got to let them know that we can't mess up something that's special.
When you see a kid change the way he thinks, and when you see a kid change the way he carries himself, and everything about that young man just changes, and it's because of the positive influence that a football program or a band or a drama club or whatever has had on that young man, and you know that you're part of that influence.
But don't hang out with the wrong crowd. Me, I'm always stay close to Coach Burton because he's like a father. He tells me to do the right things. That's why I said I'm gonna keep it up. I'm gonna keep it up for him and the rest of the team and my coaches.
That's a life-changing experience for that young man. Not only for that young man, but for everybody he comes into contact with from there on out.
By me being one of the leaders, I gotta set a positive influence on others and help others, lead others. Tell somebody they're doing something wrong not to do it, or tell them to do something. I mean, it just carries over into school. It's like if I see someone doing something wrong, I just gotta help them out, and I gotta help myself, make sure I'm doing the right thing, do my homework, just set good examples.
When I see the light bulb go on in a kid's head, and I know he's got it, I get something out of that.
3-pound kick.
I know.
All right, 43 kicks. So what we've been doing here, right?
I got it.
We showed this.
Morton, Stefan, you're about 5 yards outside and 5 yards deep, okay? That's way too wide. Way too wide. System. We got pretty good way. Okay. Come on, you got a 35-inch vertical leap. Catch the ball. Come on.
Go!
Monitoring the academic progress of the kids is something that we try really, really hard to do, and we're constantly talking to teachers and constantly in contact with the parents to do that. SAT prep, we're trying to prepare kids to take the SAT. We're trying to get kids to register to take the SAT. The study skills, we have a seminar on that. We have a seminar on how to become eligible for college scholarships that we do. And then the other thing too is the whole recruiting process, and that is really very, very important, for the kids, because we're trying to get these kids into school and give them a shot beyond high school. And so we have to make a lot of tapes and highlight tapes of this kid and highlight tapes of that kid, and then dub those copies of those tapes and send them off to colleges and write letters on behalf of kids for colleges and pull transcripts and send them off. And so, there's a lot involved in it. But again, ultimately, the people who benefit most from that is the kids, and that's what we're in it for. Guys, on Mondays, individual will always be highly, highly, highly fundamental. Okay, I'm talking about stance.
Hey, here's what we'll do. Listen up. We'll call Redskin for reverse. Okay, when we call Redskin, as soon as Stefan says go, everybody takes off this way. Okay. Help him turn. Okay? You got here, but he can still fight through this.
He's telling kids, that everybody you meet and every decision you make either comes back to help you in the future or haunt you in the future. And they don't see that right away. But I tell them, if you're late for class in September, and then you're late again in November, and then you're late again in May, well, that third tardy to that class just puts you in in-school suspension. So the first decision that you made back in September to get that extra drink of water or to talk to your buddy for 15 extra seconds, which caused you to be late, has now 6 months later come back to haunt you.
If a team can adjust over 10 or 20% of the things that they do, they must be practicing until midnight. There's only so many hours in the day and so much time you can practice and so much that you can expect a kid, to learn how to do.
Just catch it and throw it. They ain't got to do all the backs, all this stuff. Their favorite play is the stretch. All they're doing, reach, 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 and they're going to try to bring it out here, and he's just going to try to pick his hole anywhere he wants. Right there. He might hit out there and might cut all the way back over there. We had 20 points given up, and we had 10 penalties. Plus we had 4 guys not do their homework. 20 plus 10 is 30, plus 4 is 34. Okay, y'all ready for this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go on the side. Come on.
I've heard many coaches say you treat every kid the same, and teachers say that, and I don't necessarily agree with that, because I think that you treat kids how they deserve to be treated, and I treat the kids who have laid it on the line and understand it's a 12-month commitment and are doing well academically and don't miss days in the weight room and do absolutely everything I ask of them. I treat them differently than I treat the other kids who have yet to make that realization. So it has nothing to do with talent. It has everything to do with their commitment, their effort, and the way that they want to be treated. Everyone has an opportunity to be treated like a star, and they just have to seize that opportunity.
You asked what makes me feel good when I start to see that from the kids, like they respect me beyond the X's and O's. When the kid's failed a test and he's got to go home and tell his mom, he comes and tells me first. Kid's messed up outside of school, comes and says, Coach Anderson, we need to talk. What do? I've got this situation in my life. I start to feel like, start to feel good about my job, and as far as feeling respected, there's no better form of respect when there's a situation on their plate and they come see you before they go see the teacher, the mom, the dad, anybody. And if you don't take your role seriously at that point, you're in the wrong profession.
The toughest part for me when I first got here was that I felt like the role modeling was very negative. It wasn't cool to do your homework. It wasn't cool to pass tests. It wasn't cool to do what the coach told you to do. It was cool to do your own thing. And that's very, very difficult to fight through. And we had to find some positive leadership. And luckily, after a couple years, some of the younger kids who are now some of the older kids have adopted the message we've been preaching to them. And now it is okay to do your homework. It is cool to be an honor student. It is cool to do exactly what the coach tells you to, because they're seeing that when they do what the coach tells them to do, positive things happen.
It really helps me because, it builds up your self-confidence, and it helps you in school, because if you work hard out here, you got to work hard in school.
Sometimes your way is not the best way. And if you learn how to do things the right way, then sometimes things get a lot easier.
I don't have any problem laying my heart out for a player or for a kid. And every once in a while, your heart's going to get stepped on. And it's happened, and it will happen again. But, you know, if you don't lay it out there, then you can never get those rewards.
Maturity always comes into play. Different kids mature on different levels. Maybe I wanted this kid to be here, and he wasn't ready to be there.
Nonchalant, that's not football. You got to be a spaz. Bring in your hands, getting your hands moving. Right, Kenny? Right. Right here, you coming off the ball. Responsibility is vital for our success this week. Okay, so get a little wider and a little more tilted, okay? And if that power play hits, they got the power. What do you guys got to do on that? Throw it up. My bad, coach.
I came in, I identified what was going to be the sophomore class in 1999 as a pretty good class, you know, and a pretty strong class. And we had a lot of work to do with those guys, but that there was a pretty good foundation for them. And now those guys are seniors. And so hopefully the prediction, I guess, was right, hopefully, and that maybe this will be the year that we can get things turned around a little bit.
Michael, come on, come on, come on. Run with the ball in your hands so you can throw it. And sprint, sprint, sprint.
Here we go. Jump in there. Here you go. It's all set. Ready. Set.
Come on, Lamar.
You know, you do all this X's and O's, and you work hard, and you do this and that and the other thing during the week. But Friday night, it comes down to blocking and tackling. And if you prepare your team, and the way we know these kids are going to prepare, the blocking and tackling is going to take care of itself.
I'll say football is like a getaway trip, like from home, school. All the stuff that be on my mind, or I be stressed out about something, I just put that all behind, just come on the football field and have fun.
All right, I just want to thank everybody that's made this food, and we really appreciate it. And we like your choice this week.
Difficult to find people who are willing to put in as much time as we do and understand it's a 12-month commitment and understand that there are times when Saturdays in April might require football, even though football doesn't start for 5 more months. You know, that's tough. And, you know, it's difficult, especially when you consider the amount of pay that we get. It's not a whole lot. But anybody who comes in and their first couple questions are about how much their coaching salary is going to be, usually those guys are not in it for the right reasons. These kids here at Highland Springs will go to the mountaintop and back for you once you earn their respect. But they're not going to come out and give you their respect until you earn it. And I think that's fair. I think that's a good lesson. And I think that our coaches, what I ask them to do is earn that respect. And the best way that I know to earn that respect is to work your tail off and show the kids that you're in it for them.
Through the years, you know, your wife and whatever, she knows how important it is to me. You know, she didn't understand at first when we first met and all that you know, that this was a part of my life.
But she certainly was very, very supportive of me as a player, never missed a game, and we traveled on the road. She'd listen to the radio game, you know, radio broadcasts and things like that, and that really made me feel so good that, you know, to know that I had somebody that was going to be supportive of my passion. You know, my first commitment is to my wife and to my son, and but often they lose, and really that's a very, very tough pill for me to swallow, because No matter how I try to justify or rationalize why I spend so much time here or so much time in school, academically, football, the point is I'm not at home.
Part of the conflict too is it's under his control. Like, he's the one setting the hours, so it's frustrating that he won't change those hours sometimes.
And I'm bad about that. I mean, something always comes up, something else that I perceive has to be done comes up, and then I look back on it and I say, you know, maybe it wasn't absolutely necessary for me to spend that Thursday night in the middle of March away from my family, you know, but for some reason on that Thursday night in the middle of March, it seems like it's necessary for me to be there.
My kids have a hard time understanding this is my job. Why are you gone so much? This is what it takes to do my job. And
I try real hard to make home life, and you know, the 25 minutes that it takes me to drive home is decompression time, and I don't dwell on the day's activities. I get excited about going home to my wife and my son, and I try to make that, you know, as soon as I put my stuff down, and it's playtime for me and my son.
It's more than a game, so she does understand that, but I'm passionate about her as well. So there's a conflict of the two, and like I said, you can't replace time. You just try to make the most of the time you do have together.
I don't understand the game of football well enough to understand whether or not he needs to be there. So when he says he does, I have to pretty much take his word for it. Most of the time I'm saying, do you have to add Saturday mornings? Can you not just I always say, can't you rotate with other coaches? You've got 7 coaches, can't you rotate and each one of you be there one Saturday, and then, you know, it would be every 7 weeks. It wouldn't be a big deal, and that's never an option.
You're not just being away just to be away, you know, that you're taking care of your job, and then this is your career, and this is what you've worked for, and this is the way it's got to be.
I just most of the time chalk that up to not understanding exactly what goes into it, and I don't usually get my compromise. But if I tell him I need him here for something, like we had Zeb's preschool meeting, he'll make sure that he gets here for things that are important to us.
Hopefully that balance can be struck, and that's something that I've got to do a better job of, because you know, it could be awful lonely without my family, and I won't allow that to happen. It won't get to that point.
The firefly saw a light and flew towards it, but it was not another firefly. It was what's that? Flashlight. Flashlight shining in the night.
2-0, guys. 2-0. 2-0. Count! They go long count, then quick count. You got it, Nolan? Now, we got to start fast.
6:47, C. Louis.
When we go out there, it's got to be 28-0 before they can even think. We want to hit them so hard on defense that they quit and get back on the bus. On offense, 1 and score. Huddle, huddle, 8-0. Defense comes out, 3 and out, punt return, touchdown. It's too special. That's a special teams touchdown, an offensive touchdown. Hit them before they can even think. Get in there, Jamal. Good. Get them back on that bus and headed to the West End before they can even think. And then start fast. Start fast. Come on, let's go.
I think the anxiety part is maybe the part that keeps us in this. I mean, that feeling that you get on Friday nights, I know a lot of people call it anxiety, but it's kind of one of the reasons why you love doing this so much. And it does lead to great fun.
I'm not the type of person that yell and shout and everything like that, but they gave me like a place where I can stay and be welcome. I'm not from Highland Springs. I live in the West End, so I'm by Godwin and Freeman and things like that. So I come every morning, 15, 20 miles from my house to like a group of young men who care about me just as much as I care about them.
Hey, spring is back, man. Yes, sir. Hey, remember what they said? Spring up winter, man. It's only one in the country, man.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ivan Alzuro, and welcome to Sportswire Classics. You know, real sports classics live up to their billing long after the game is played, much like the 1959 Central District matchup between Hermitage and Highland Springs, known as the Hurricane Bowl. Back then, the region was so small they just kept the terminology to district. Well, this Henrico County matchup rivaled any Richmond City Classic like TJ and John Marshall and the Armstrong Walker Classic. The game was played at Old Parker Field, the International League home of the Richmond Virginians, the AAA affiliate for the New York Yankees. Now, this particular fall in '59 was a rather wet one. The stage was set. It was the defending state champions Hermitage Panthers, led by the one and only Chester Fretz, the man who lived the axiom, ask no quarter, give no quarter. This particular year in 1959, the Panthers were going in 6-2 to this game, a bit of a rebuilding year for these guys. The offense was just coming around. They were up against their arch rival in Al Rinaldi and the Highland Springs Springers. The Springers and Rinaldi were after their first state title, going in 8-0. Now, they had everything working for them. You see, they had this little offense called the wing T, something Al Rinaldi borrowed from LSU. Massive misdirection and plenty of confusion for the defense. Their offense was averaging 20 points per game and giving up less, defensively speaking, less than a touchdown per game. The set a stage. There no more hype was needed for this game. Everybody was coming out for the Hermitage Highland Springs matchup, the Hurricane Bowl.
We actually played, I think it was almost in a hurricane. The weather was so bad and it was just raining, something terrible. We played it at Old Parker Field.
I'm sure it's a game that would not be played today. Probably wouldn't be played anytime since that particular year.
And then all day Friday, it was a real bad day, rainstorm. It was part of a hurricane. We were on the fringe of a hurricane. That's why they call it the Hurricane Bowl.
On that night in November, Hermitage was going to beat any team that was on the field. That was it. Chicago Bears, Green Bay Packers, we didn't care. The game was won. It was a matter of playing it.
What I remember probably more than anything is the fear I had, the fear that we were going to lose.
I didn't look forward to meeting those guys on the dry field because we knew what kind of offense they had, and it would have been much more difficult for us to beat them. Coach Fritz used to always say that there are going to be a lot of people at the game because every dog and alley cat in Highland Springs is going to want to be there the day that Highland Springs beats Hermitage. I just remember looking out on the field, and it wasn't a field, it was kind of a lake.
This game, we weren't going for any state championship or anything, but it was a good win. It was always a good win to beat Highland Springs. This was our 9th game, and we only had one more game to play after that game. And of course, Hermitage had this jinx over Highland Springs for years and years. And we really thought we had the great chance to beat them this year.
The biggest game on our schedule every year was Highland Springs. Everybody talked about it, not only the players, but the people in town and parents and girlfriends. And it was, we got to go out and we got to beat Hermitage.
I remember my wife saying afterwards, and up to today, it was the worst game she as a spectator had ever sat through or ever witnessed. And it's the worst game situation that I've ever played.
Going into that week's game, the level of intensity was at an all-time high, not only for Hermitage, but for Highland Springs. So much so, the diet simply reflected the level of anxiety prior to the game.
I probably shouldn't tell this because Coach is sitting over there listening to me, but my pregame meal was really a health person's delight. I used to go up to the drugstore and get a cheeseburger before the game and a milkshake.
I'd go home, I'd fix that because my parents weren't there. I'd eat my small steak and small potato.
In Richmond, October brings the rains, November brings the chill, and on November 6, 1959, you had both.
The day started off, was a light rain, and in the afternoon it got a little bit harder.
All the games in the Eastern and Central region were canceled that night due to heavy rains. But back in the day, the home team, not the official, decided whether the game would be canceled or not. Fritz knew that the rain would play out in his favor for the running game versus Rinaldi's high-octane aerial attack. Highland Springs versus Hermitage would be the only game played that night on November 6, 1959.
We didn't know until that evening
which coach would make the decision as to whether to play or not.
I remember Coach's phone was ringing off the hook.
Coach Rinaldi and the Highland Springs people were calling, wanted to know what we want to do.
John Brown done most of the talking on the phone.
They said that he answered the phone and Al Rinaldi was there.
I might have said, talked to something, but we're still going to play it.
Chester Fritz put the phone down. He walked out the door, looked around, rain was pouring down, coming down. He went back and said, Al, looks like it's clearing up over here.
We had the authority to stop it for lightning or what was dangerous to the health, but this was not a call for us to make.
The years can play on the memory. This is how Highland Springs legend has the telephone conversations taking place.
I remember it was deathly quiet in the gym.
The phone was ringing. I mean, Coach was calling, and Fritz probably wouldn't, I'm sure he was there and didn't answer the phone.
Mr. Kreider was trying to get in touch with Mr. Watson.
And evidently, they either weren't there, they were on the way to the game, or they deliberately didn't answer the phone.
And if I know Chester, he had that phone off the hook.
And all of a sudden, the door that goes from the gym back to the coach's office swung open with a loud bang. And of course, it echoed through the gym, you know, and that startled everybody, woke everybody up. And I remember Coach coming in saying, well, he won't answer the phone.
And so all I can remember is we had the feeling that maybe the game shouldn't be played. But once we got there, they came back in the locker room and said to us, oh, the field, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's not that bad. And we went for calisthenics, and I remember taking 2 or 3 steps in the water, hit you in the back. And I mean, it was cold and wet, and it really wasn't okay.
It felt like 20 degrees, but I don't know what it actually was. It's probably 40s. But with the wind blowing, the wind chill was what was so cold.
I ran across and my hat flew off, and I went by and reached down, picked it up by the bill, and when I put it on my head, it was about half full of water, and that cold water ran down. That was a shocking experience.
As the story goes, I really don't remember the ball floating, but on several occasions they claimed that the referee had to hold the ball down to keep it from floating.
The ball actually would float away when the official takes his foot off of it.
All of a sudden, the wind shifted and the water came across and the ball floated away so fast we had to chase it down.
I remember them putting the ball down to mark it to play, and it floated on down the field, and it did that more than once.
Like the disparaging differences in the phone conversation, the attendance figures seemed a little cloudy as well.
Incredible thing, I don't know the number, but we had a tremendous number of people spectators at that game.
There were close to 5,000 people.
4,000 people at that ball game. As I say, there was 5,000 or 6,000 people at that game. And they were under those stands, and I think if it had been open stands, we would have had 100 people at the game.
Jeez, 6 state championships at Tucker. We had some players back then, Mike Milchin, Tim Legler. Golly day, if we had Sportswire back then, it'd be great.
Mark, it's all about a trigger. You have to have the trigger. Keep it straight, get it forward. That's the way this game is played. Trigger. That's the way you want to do it. Deep and back. All right. Telling you, this is the way the game is played. Trigger. You want to give that trigger.
We had this big clap of thunder, and we had a torrential rain, and it didn't let up, I guess, for 7 or 8 hours.
And going down 9 Mile Road, the rain was so bad that forced the bus off the road. We had to pull off the road.
I know I sat next to a friend of mine, Ronnie Jones, who played in, and we talked back and forth on the bus. And he would ask me, he said, "You think everybody's ready?" I said, "Yeah, I think everybody's ready." I said, "Are you ready?" He said, "Yeah, I'm ready." "Are you ready?" I said, "Yeah, I'm ready." So we started getting, kind of fired up at that point. But I think the fear that we could lose this game was something that was in my mind that I really didn't like.
And when we went to Parker Field that night for the ball game, I can remember walking out on the field, pre-game warm-up.
It seemed like there was 2 to 3 inches of water on the field, as if it were a pond.
And looked up at the lights, and it was just torrents of rain just coming through. And it didn't get any better the rest of the night.
And the wind came up, and that type of, we was already prepared and had everything ready to go, so we was gonna play the ball game. It was our home game, and we had the choice.
They'd probably talk about the health of the kids and all, which is a lot of baloney. Nobody got hurt that night. Nobody got hurt. They got wet, they got sloppy, and I see in the paper this morning that they take the kids out and teach them how to make mud pies. We didn't have to teach them that night. They learned on their own.
We went to the referees and said, do you think it's safe to play tonight in these conditions?
Coach Rinaldi is beside himself. There's Bobby Owens, I remember, with just pants on, no shirt. These other boys not dressed and wanting to cancel the game.
Of course, we kept hearing rumors that the game would be called off, or had been called off, or might be called off.
And I went into the Hermitage locker room.
Hermitage at that time, too, we'd all go, particularly the first team, would go into the gym after we were taped. It was always very, very quiet. You could hear a pin drop. We'd all lay around like in a circle.
And everybody was dressed in those practice pants, the worst shoes they had, those old red jerseys that I remember so well, and not a word being said. The coach going around.
Came in as we were laying around the first team in a circle there in the gym, and he looked at us and he said, "You boys want to play this game tonight?" And of course, you know, very quietly again, we all nodded, yes, that was it.
And I did my job. I came back in the room, and Ray Beasley said, "Bill, are we going to play?" I said, "Ray, yes, we're going to play." I said, "Hermitage is a home team, and they are going to play, and it's going to be tough because they are ready. And Highland Springs is very disorganized at this point."
I think I got the team in the wrong mood, because I really didn't think we were going to play. I really didn't want to play. I didn't think we were going to play, and I didn't do the team any favors by insinuating that we probably weren't going to play. And that put them down in the dumps, because I think they were ready to play.
And it looks like the Blue Devils may be rushing their shot a little bit.
Oh, wow, what a pass from Jones to Ross, and a slam, and that's the play of the game so far. Timeout, Carolina, 20 seconds, we'll stay right here. 75-72, 1 minute, 25 seconds
Almost
left.
a steal loose, there goes, oh, wow.
Man, I think about some of the games we played in high school, like some of our classic matchups against John Marshall, Henrico, some of those teams, all the guys when they played Division I or signed scholarships, they played overseas. Man, I wish we would have had Sportswire back then.
It was called a wing tee.
The Highland Springs Springers didn't have your run-of-the-mill high school offense. They had the wing tee, a variation of LSU's power trap series, a new style of offense meant to confuse the defense, chock full of cross-action and multiple ball exchanges. The pulling created misdirection for any defense. Tailback Buster Lammy was the all-Metro selection for the Springers with 11 TDs that year. His sidekick, Kenny Blanchard, 6 TDs. The two of them accounted for 17 of the 27 touchdowns that season.
I think what made it so good was that no one else played it. No one knew how to handle it, because the wing tee was so different than the normal split tee that Hermitage used or the other teams used a tee with a wing. But in a wing tee, Yvonne, you pull people, you pull guard, you pull tackle, you pull end, you double team, you trapped, and a lot of teams weren't used to playing that. And as a result, we were able to win a lot of games that I don't think we would have won in previous years.
For the defending state champion Hermitage Panthers, they ran the traditional split tee, the running attack consisting of option plays, sprint out passes, and plenty of handoffs. Bob Weidman was the tough, hard-nosed fullback. The punch holes opens for their scat back, George Glass. At quarterback, Randy Atkinson possessed the one skill every coach covets in their field general, the ability to keep his team in the game and find a way to win.
Basically, we were a 3 yards in a cloud of dust type, or no dust that night, but 3 yards in a cloud of dust type football team, okay? We didn't really have a breakaway threat. We passed when we had to. That was it.
On defense, Hermitage threw up a 5-2 front with 4 backs. The defending state champions were led by the McNew brothers, Billy and Ronnie on the line. Anchoring the defense was the gritty and savvy linebacker, Mike Vaughn. Rebuilding with underclassmen, the Panthers weren't expected to hit over 500 this year. Highland Springs showed a 6-2 formation, the same defensive lineup since 1956. The Springers had size and experience over the rebuilding Panthers.
I remember I won the toss.
We decided, if I'm not mistaken, we decided to kick off, which was unusual usually for most teams, because we wanted them handling the football. And also, I think either John Brown or Coach Fritz said that
I took the current. I didn't take the wind, I took the current. There was that much water on the field. In fact, it was so muddy at halftime, we could have planted rice out there and grown it.
Early in the evening, the game would see its first score. With Highland Springs laying the pressure heavy, the Panthers flinched.
Our center centered the ball over the punter's head, and they were leading 2-0.
I learned later from Rodney Nash, just within the past couple of years, that after he snapped the ball over the punter's head, he came off the field because he didn't play defense. And Coach Fritz put his arm around him and said, Rodney, if 2 points beat us tonight, we deserve to lose.
And when we scored the safety, I think most people said, well, that'll be it. The game will end 2-0.
Hell, if it had ended there, we'd have done better than anyone expected us to do. So really, the pressure was on Highland Springs. It wasn't on us.
And I got very angry over the fact that 2 points was not going to win that ball game that night.
The underdog Hermitage Panthers had to really scratch to win a game this season, opening the season with a loss to rival Lane High School from Charlottesville. By the time Highland Springs came, the defense had matured and the offense was just coming around. In the second quarter, Hermitage started the march to the end zone from their own 30. A little help from Highland Springs on an offside call on fourth down punt situation revived the Hermitage drive. George Glass, short and stocky in size, was custom built for a game like tonight.
We ran Randy we put out a spread, but we ran off of it. And he went 40-some yards, I believe.
The newspaper account later said that Randy, the quarterback, Randy Atkinson, ran the option play several times. I'm sure at that time, in that rain, there was no option to it. He just ran the ball and it looked like an option play, but there was actually no option to it.
Because of the slippery field, I was able to cut up field and, gain yardage consistently on that particular play.
Fritz believes only 3 things can happen when you throw the ball. 2 of them are bad. At the drive's most desperate moment, Fritz took a chance.
Yeah, I guess it surprised us, and because we had 3 great defensive backs.
The only pass of the night, Coach Fritz called that, of course, and I threw it to George Glass, and he took it on down to the 1 or 2 yard line.
We played a 3 deep zone, and somehow they found a seam in that zone.
We were desperate. I wasn't too hopeful that we would be able to, pull it off, but it was a fantastic catch.
Because of the competitor we were playing, would be the best highlight of my career.
And I have to give all the credit to George for being able to hang on to that thing. It was hard enough trying to throw it, but it was probably a wounded duck, I'm sure. But
an unlikely play called by a coach at a desperate time proved to be the pinnacle play of the game. George Glass cut the 17-yard wounded duck to set up the game's first touchdown.
On the ground, so we called a sprint out pass, and he hit George right on the goal line. We stuck it in. 7-2, and I thought we still had a real good chance to win. I thought that we could get the ball and drive on them.
Lorraine nor Hermitage let up. The Panthers rolled up only 49 yards on the ground with 5 first downs, but they all came at the right time. Fritz's game plan was to let the ineffective Highland Springs offense continue to handle the ball in the rain.
We wanted Highland Springs to handle the ball more because we figured they would make a mistake or something. We could jump on it.
Our defense was to go in and hit anybody, whether they had the ball or not, because it would mess up all their exchanges and system.
At the break, the 8-0 Highland Springs Springers found themselves down 6-2. It was time for a change.
We're going to go to straight power sets. We had Kenny at fullback, and we were going to run a lot of fullback stuff. And I said, we're just going to have to throw out our traps, our reverses. We're just not going to be able to do it because we just couldn't handle the ball. It was just too wet.
That thing was slick. It was no way, and it's amazing. Neither team lost a fumble.
We did throw the ball a little bit. We had Jake Adams, who was 6'4", and we thought we could maybe just throw the ball out to him and maybe get back. If we could get a touchdown, I thought we would win.
The passing game was really ineffective. We had a real grinded out type of running game.
Highland Springs offense only mustered 9 first downs and 87 yards on the ground. It became increasingly difficult for the Springers to mount up an attack that Blanchard and the offense could sustain.
I think when it got down to the 40-yard line, I think they probably got a shot of adrenaline and said, hey, this is not going to happen. So they clamped down on us, and for whatever reason, we would have possession of the ball maybe 10 plays or so, and we'd make a mistake, and then they'd end up with the ball.
The cold rain and the blustering wind rendered Highland Springs offense ineffective. Coach Fritz gambled that the Panthers defense would hold the Springers and control the tempo of the game. Special teams that gave up 2 points early in the game would now have the opportunity in the third quarter to redeem themselves.
We had the wind to our back, and it was only about 2 or 3 seconds before it changed the quarter. And we had a kicker named Heisler. He was a real good punter. So we punted on second down and kicked the ball down close to the goal line, and then June Turnage blocked a kick on him.
After Turnage had blocked the punt, and we moved the ball down close to the goal line, and I got it in on a quarterback sneak. I was underneath that pile, and I was pretty frustrated that time, and it was a big pile. All of them had gotten on top of me.
The most surprising thing is that I just didn't think they could score 2 touchdowns against my team.
Hermitage would go on to win 13-2 in what some would call an upset. You see, Al Rinaldi and his Springers were poised to win their first state title with an undefeated season. Though the Springers missed that opportunity, they did win the Central Region Championship with a record of 9-1. Hermitage would close out the year with a tie and post a 7-2-1 record.
Did you guys realize you just killed Highland Springs' opportunity for a state title with that win?
That might have been in the back of our minds, but I can't remember that really.
We went on to win the next 2 games and, like I say, won the Central District Championship that year, but that one game, it was really a heartbreaker for Gilly and, of course, Al Rinaldi.
We had played so well all year. We were outscoring the teams. I think no one scored over 1 touchdown against us the whole year. And could you imagine we gave up 2 touchdowns in a night like this? The most points that had been scored against us in any one game was 7 points.
Winning that game meant so much to us, but to them, it was just another win because they were such good teams.
No game since has matched the lore of the 1959 Hermitage Highland Springs matchup, nor the legendary coaching rivalry between Rinaldi and Fritz.
Still think Al and I are good friends, and I think he's a great coach. And he's had a great record. It speaks for itself.
Coach Fritz was a very, very shrewd coach. He was ahead of all of us. I learned more from playing Coach Fritz than I did from any other source.
The following year, Al Rinaldi and the Springers would go on to tie Hermitage, killing the Panthers' state title hopes, finishing 9-0-1. The Springers ended their season in the year 1960, 7-0-3.
It was always great to play him because there was 2 good teams that got together. And so I always admired Al's coaching.
I did hear later, because I was fortunate enough to go back and coach 1 year at Highland Springs and two years under Chester Fritz at Hermitage, and I do recall later hearing that Al Rinaldi had called like every 15 minutes trying to see if the game was going to be played. Since it was our home game, it was our option as to whether or not it would be played. And I believe that Chief Chester Fritz, as we used to call him, not the players until we went back and coached for him, but would always put Al Rinaldi off. And then I remember hearing that Al called probably about maybe 6:30 or 7, something like that, right before probably Coach Fritz came in and asked us if we wanted to play.
I still haven't forgotten. I've accepted, but I still haven't forgotten.
Irony will have it, the next year when the year after I graduated and ended up at Hampton-Sydney College, two of my roommates were Buster Lammy, the halfback on that Highland Springs team, and Ronnie Jones, one of the offensive ends on that team, and we've been good friends ever since. And I finally realized that not everyone from Highland Springs has one big eye in the middle of their forehead, you know.
Torrential storms aside, the Hurricane Bowl is a bit of a misnomer. You see, not even a tropical storm hit Virginia that year. But much like the natural phenomenon, the excitement that swept through the crowd, the adoration they poured on for both their coaches, was a storm of emotion, no less the magnitude of a hurricane.
I don't want to sound like you shrank, but I got to ask you, are you finally over this game now?
Oh, yes, indeed. When I came back in 73 to coach, at Highland Spring, all the kids there were talking about Henrico High School and Lee Davis, but me, in my heart, I said, no, the one we're going to beat is Hermitage. I always had that in my mind, and I've been very happy that the last 6 years I was at Highland Spring that we were able to beat Hermitage 6 consecutive times. And those were the most satisfying things. But it was a bitter pill to swallow, and we still remember it. And always remember the Hurricane Bowl.